This tutorial is for anyone who wants to get into data analytics, data science, data engineering, or any other tech fields. SQL is required for every role. Before you watch this video, I want to tell you three key points. Point number one, you can learn anything, it's just that you need to practice a lot. Point number two, don't watch any video in just one go. Point number three, watch this video plus practice side by side. These are three key points. If you follow these points, I'm sure you can learn everything and anything. We will cover SQL from very basics because if your basics are clear, then it will be easier for you to understand the complex or advanced SQL concepts. So let's get started. So let's first understand what is data. Data is just the raw information. It has no meaning until processed. For example, someone's age, name, or salary. So it is just the data. And another example, whether 50,000 salary is good or bad. So it's just data, we don't know it yet. What is fact? Fact is basically a calculation or rule that applied to the data. So earlier we looked at that is 80,000 salary good or bad. So now we are saying highest salary is 80,000, lowest salary is 50,000. So this is a fact, right? And then how did we arrive to this fact? Because we applied calculation to the data. Fact plus data equal to meaning. So when we combine data with fact, so it becomes meaningful. And for example, employee B earns the most salary in the department or the company. What is a database? Database is a structured storage system designed for analysis, not just for saving the data. For example, university database, employee database. So now you understand what is a database. You should ask, so why do we need a database? So what used to happen many years ago that people used to record everything in register, and it was very hard to even find a particular record. People used to spend hours and hours and then just getting one record. So now I'll just write one query and I'll get everything easily. So now let's understand the types of databases we have. So there are two types of databases. One is relational database and then second is non-relational database. So let's look at the example of relational database. So you would see, so this is the table structure. So these are multiple tables connected with these arrows. So you would see it is product line, employees. So every table has certain information because see, we have segregated information so that we can easily access the information. For example, if I combine product information with employee, then it will be very hard for me to find the information. So that's why we need to have relevant information in the relevant tables. These tables are connected with these lines. So these are called relationship like one to many to many. So we will cover as we go forward. So under DBMS, there are a lot of software available such as MySQL, Oracle. And what is the full form of DBMS? It is Database Management System. MySQL is RDBMS. So now we know the full form of DBMS and R is relational. So MySQL is a relational database management system. And what is the full form of GUI? It is graphical user interface. So now we understand MySQL is a relational database, what is DBMS, what is GUI, how the table looks like. So let's go back to this slide. So data is stored in tables made of rows and columns. Tables are connected to each other. So this is what I have written over here. So you can just read it. It's just for your information so that you can understand it. And then the examples of tool MySQL, PostgreSQL, real life usage like banks, companies, colleges. And what about non-relational databases? So it is not stored in tables. It is stored in either documents, picture format, or key value pairs. For example, you must have heard JSON file. So this is how we store the information in JSON file. And the examples of tools is MongoDB, Cassandra. Example is also given over there. So now let's understand what is SQL. First, SQL stands for Structured Query Language. If I read the definition, it allows users to interact with the databases to perform CRUD operations. So remember that keyword CRUD because it is generally used in the databases. So CRUD full form is create, read, update, and delete operations. So for example, if I run this command select staff from employees, so you don't have to understand it right now. So this command will give me the data for all employees. In just one command, I'm getting the data for all employees. Remember this tip. SQL is not a programming language like Python or Java. It is a query language. Got it? Because most people get confused that and they say SQL is a programming language. No, it is a query language. Remember that keyword. And earlier SQL was known as SEQUEL. So the full form was Structured English Query Language. So this is the SQL. We write SQL to interact with the databases. So in our case, we will write this SQL query to interact with MySQL database. So MySQL is relational database, so that we get the data from relational database. So let's first understand the types of SQL commands we have. So these are the 5 categories of the SQL command. So whatever command we would write would fall in one of the categories. And you can see the definition at the left hand side for each. One interesting thing, so generally people use show description use in either DDL or DQL. These are not DDL or DQL commands. These are utility command and these should be kept separately. So remember these pro tip because these can be asked in the interview and these are very important. Very less people talk about this stuff. So now we understand like what are the different type of commands. So let's create the database. And what is the syntax to create the database? So this is the syntax I have given it. So create database company. So let's look at it practically. So let me copy this one and go to MySQL. So MySQL Workbench, it is a GUI, graphical user interface. At the left hand, you would see schemas. So you can see already some databases. For example, I have already created this database and then that data has certain tables and views. And for example, if I go into particular table, so we can see column indexes. And if I go, so this is the admin part over here. And if I go back to the home, so this is how the MySQL Workbench looks like. And these are the connections. So we have already established and we will learn how to establish that connection as well. And this is the activity output. So whenever we would run the query over here, whether the query was successful or not, it would come here. Let me increase the size of it. All right, let's create our first database. Create database. So this is the syntax. So this is how you need to write and then the name of the database. So you can write anything over here. So I gave the name company and semicolon is needed. So let's run it. So now you can see it is like green check marks, which means the database has been created, one row affected, but over here I can't see it. So let me refresh it. So now you can see the company database is there. And then we got like tables, views, stored procedure, and functions. Currently, we do not have anything in these tables. So now we have run this command. Okay, so now there is another this command, create database if not exist. So let me show you the example of this. See what happened if not exist is one command, so which is very useful. It is for the safety. So let me show you the example of it. So let's say I have already created a database. If I am creating the same database again, so what would happen? I have run the query and then you can see that it gave me the error. And what if I run this command? What would happen? So now you would see it is a warning sign. All right. So whenever you are not sure whether database is there or not, so if not exist is the safest command. So what would happen? In this one, your query will break. But if you are using create database, if not exist, the query will not break. Query will run like whatever further query you would provide, it would run because it will just give the warning and then it will proceed further. So that's why we use if not exist. So now if I need to drop this database, so what is the command? So I can use this command, drop database company. And again, so there is another command. So earlier we looked at if not exists and then again, if exists as well is there. So first let me delete the database. So you can see database has been deleted. If I run this, then again it will give me the warning sign that this database is not there, but the query, if I provided for the query, it would have run already. So now we understand how to create the database, how to drop the database. So let's go back to it. All right, so we have created the database, but we are not using it for now because To use the database, you have to use a command in MySQL, so which is use company, like whatever database you have created. If I run this query, use company. Okay, so it is saying unknown database company because we have already dropped the database. So let's create the database first. So we have created it. Let me run this command now. Use company. So zero row affected. So which means now whatever we would do, so company database will be used. So now we are going to use the company database going forward. So let's go back to our PPT. So now let's create a table. Creating a table means creating a structure to store data in rows and columns equal to heading, rows equal to records. So this is the syntax how the table should be created because we can't change it. It is just the SQL format, SQL syntax. And this is the example I have given. So let me take the example and paste it here. All right, so in this table, what I did, so create table is the syntax, and then I gave the name employee, so you can give any name, and then bracket the start. So I have said I need ID column, ID is int as an integer, and then primary key because it should be unique. So we will look into these data type in a while. And then I gave another column as name. So name I have defined where character 50 and not null because it should not be blank. And then date of birth should be in the date format and it should be not null, it should not be blank basically. Department is because it is a text value, so that's why I have given where character 50 because my department will not exceed more than 50. And salary is int, so which means integer value. We want to store the integer value in the salary column. So let's run this query. So you can see zero row affected. So now if we let's refresh it first. If I go to the table and then you can see employee table has been created. If I go in here, so you would see column indexes. If in the column, so you can see ID. So this is the column we created, name, date of birth, department, and salary. So now let's understand like what are these, for example, data types, where character, not null. Okay, so let me, okay. So MySQL has certain data types. To see all the data types, you can just follow this link. So it has all the data types. So we have numeric data type, for example, tiny int. Tiny is int is minus 128 to 127. But if I use unsigned, so which means it will convert to 0 to 225. So what does that mean? So let me show you the example. For example, if I use tiny int over here, so tiny int the definition minus 128 to 127. But so we have this unsigned value as well. If I use unsigned over here, so which means it will now not store any negative value because it will store 0 to 220 to 55. For example, if I know that I don't have to store negative value in any column, so it's better that I use unsigned and then I increase the range of that. Because if I'm using tiny int, so it will take minus 128 as well. So this is how we optimize the databases. So now we have used int as an integer. Int can use this range from negative to positive. And in the same way, so you can see that like there are many data types. Then we have character data types. In characters, so chr is fixed length, basically 0 to 255 character. And where character, because we used where character is variable in length, 0 to 65,000. So what happens generally, for example, in the name I gave where character 50 because I need maximum 50 characters, right? But let's say if I'm giving only 8 characters, so it will, because it is dynamic, so it will store the space for 8 characters only. So that's why where character is useful to use. And then in the same way, so we have used date of birth date in if I show you, so we have binary data type, we have date and data time, other data types. So link to this document is in the description. You can download it and go through it. We have already created the table, so let's go back and see what is next. So now let's understand constants. So you remember that I had earlier applied, let me go. So earlier I had used primary key over here. So int, you understand now, int is the data type, where character is the data type, date is data type. Primary key, not null. So these are constraints. All right, so let's talk about constraints. So we did have, primary key, not null. So these are constraints. So int, so we already looked at it that these are data types. So now constraints, what are constraints? Constraints are basically rules that are applied to the table or column. And why do we apply? Because we want to ensure that we have the data accuracy, data quality, data integrity. Because if we don't apply it onto the database, so which means database will just be the storage system, text or numeric values, so it will not make sense. It will make the data worse. So that's why constraints are really useful. So what are the type of constraints? So there are 6 constraints. So constraint number 1, not null. So this ensure that column cannot have null value. For example, so I applied date of birth. So date of birth cannot be null. Everyone has to have date of birth. If I say, if I remove this not null, then the person can enter the person can leave the date of birth column blank. I don't want that, right? So that's why I have used not null. So not null ensure that a column cannot have null value. Unique constraint, basically it ensure that every column has a unique value. And then primary key is the combination of not null or unique. Each table should have a primary key or at least a foreign key, because there is a relationship between primary key and foreign key. We cannot have a table without primary key. So for foreign key is basically it refers to the primary key in the other table. So that's why I was saying primary key and foreign key goes in hand. So if I have a primary key, then in the other table I would have the foreign key. Check basically ensure that condition that we have applied is satisfied. So what could be the condition? So for example, in date of birth column, I can apply the check condition that if someone entering the date of birth, it should be greater than or equal to 18 as per today's date, right? And then default. Sometimes what happens, people are not providing value in certain columns. So we can provide a default value. If let's say I didn't provide any value for that column, and then default value will be updated. We have already created the table. So let's understand how to rename the table. So the syntax to rename the table is rename table, then first existing table name, to, and then new table name. And then there is another command, so which is alter table. So we will look at both. And this is the example. So let me copy this and go back to MySQL. Rename table, employees table is already there. So we want to rename it to employee. So let's run this query. So query has run successfully. So now let me refresh it. So now we can see that table has been renamed to employee. So there was another command. So alter table. So earlier it was rename table. Now alter table employee, since we have renamed it to employee. Now rename to employees. And let's run this query. So now again the table has renamed. Refresh it. So now we can see that. Now we need to modify the structure of the existing table. So this is very important. So the syntax of it over here. So I have given, for example, first we will look at how to add a column. Add a column at specific position, rename a column, modify a column type, drop a column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And syntax 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then example. So let's look at the example. Alter table employees, because we have already named. So now I am adding the column as country and where character, because in country I will store the text value. So that's why we have given where character 15. So let's run this. The column has been added, so we can check it in the column. So country column you can see over here. So the second command is add a column at a specific position. So earlier we added the column and it was added at the last. But what if I want to add a column after name, right? Or maybe let me first show you command select star from employees. Let me run this. So now you can see like these are the columns in our table ID name. And I want to add gender after name. So this is how we will do it. Alter table, like same employees. There we want to add gender where character 15 after name. So this is the only extra command we are giving after name, and let's run this. So let's run this command. So now you can see that gender has been added after name. And now we will rename a column. Alter table employee, rename column name to employee name. So basically alter table again is the same command. Rename column is to rename the column, and what column we want to rename is name to employee name. And let's run this. And let's run select star from employees. So now you can see name has been renamed to employee name. So now if I want to modify a column type, right? So let's, so earlier you remember that in the gender, so we provided where character 15, but since we are talking about gender, so we know we will store male and female. So it's better to have the lesser space even. So we are giving where character 10, and let's run this. It has run successfully. If I want to drop or delete a column, what command I will use? So this is the last command. Alter table employees drop gender. So we are just removing the gender. So let me run this query. So you can see gender has been removed. So now we have learned that how to add a column, how to add a column at a specific position, how to rename a column, how to modify its type, or how to delete a column. So now insert the data in a table. So there are two ways to insert the data. So I have written insert without specifying column name, not recommended. And then second practice is insert by specifying column name, so which is the best practice. And then this is the syntax. So for first insert into table name and values, because we are not providing any column name. In the second, so we are providing column name as well. So let's look at the example. Let me enter it over here and insert into. So this is the command to insert the data, and the table name is employee, and so these are the values we are trying to enter in the employee table. So it is giving me error. I think there is some error. Yeah, so I got it. So there is this single quote was incorrect. So let me run this query now. So how do we view or see the data? So select star from employees. So this is how we see the data. And let's run this. So you can see that data has been entered. And another way, so this is second way. So earlier, like we didn't provide any column name, and now here we are providing column name. Again, it is showing us the error. So again, there is this issue with the single quote, and this is again single quote, and over here as well. Okay, it now looks perfect. So now, since we have mentioned these columns and we know, like for example, ID should come first, date of birth should come third. So this is the best and recommended way. And let's run this query. Okay, so it didn't work. So it is saying name error. So basically in our column, so let's run it first. Okay, so name is not there. It is employee underscore name. So we need to change it to employee underscore name. And let's run this again. Okay, again it did not work, and now you can see duplicate entry one for key employee primary key. So that's the power, and now we understand so why we use primary key, because primary key will ensure that we should have unique value only, and this is the perfect way, because if you are getting error, then you know, okay, so where is the issue, what is the cause, so that you can correct it. And then maybe instead of one, we can provide the ID as 4, because 4 will be unique. And let's run this. So now you can see that it worked, and if I run it, ID will have unique key only 1 2 3 4. So now we will look at how to delete table or a data from a table. So command number 1, delete. So it will remove the rows, so which is a row level operation. So for delete, the syntax is delete from table name, where is where clause, and then condition. And the example is this. So let's copy this. So we are saying delete from employee table, where is the clause where department equal to HR. Let's run this. Okay, so it gave the error, you are using safe mode and you tried to update the table with a where clause. So currently we are using safe mode, so we need to disable the safe mode. To disable the safe mode, so I have written the command over here. So it is this command. Let me copy this and run it. So now we have disabled the safe mode, and if I run this command now, so you can see it worked, one row affected. If I run this query, so now you can see HR department is not there. And let's look at the another command. So first we looked at delete. Now there is second. Truncate is basically remove all rows, table level operations. So delete was row level because we need to provide where condition with delete, and remove is the table operation, and the command is truncate table employees. With truncate we cannot use where clause, so that's the difference between delete and truncate. If you just want to remove everything from the table, so even you can use delete from employees and then you can ignore that, but generally prefer is truncate table employees, and it will remove all the data from the table. If I run select staff from employees, so you can see table is now blank. So I hope you understood the difference between delete and truncate. And then third is drop table employees. So right now we were removing the data from the table, so this command will drop the table. Basically the employee table will be dropped. If I run it again, so you can see that there is no employee table now, it has been dropped. So let me create the employee table again because we need it. So I have created the employee table and let me enter the data. So I have this data. Okay, it should work, I guess. So let's run this query. Country, okay, country column is not there. So you can see the error. So we need to add the country column. So we already added earlier here. So this is the command we can run. Country column has been added. So now I can run the command. Okay, now data has been entered. So how do we view the data? Select star from employees and let's run it. So now you can see we got the data. All right, so we will now run further operations. So next is update command to modify existing data in a table. And what is the syntax for update? Update, then table name, and then you need to use set, and then column name equal to whatever value you want to assign, and then where clause with conditional. So this is the example. So we have two example. We will look both the example. So update employees, we are updating the employees, and set salary equal to 85,000 where ID equal to 1. So for ID 1, if we see currently the salary is 80,000, so we are updating 85,000 salary for ID 1. Let's run this query. Okay, so it has run. So now let's run this, and you can see that for ID 1, 85,000 has been updated. So this was where we are updating one record. And what if we are trying to update two records? So this is the command. Again, update employees, set department, basically column name first, and then what is the value, and then comma, again second column is country, and then we are trying to update India, and where ID equal to 5. So for 5 ID, India is already there, so maybe I can update USA over here. And let's run this. So it has run successfully. So let's see whether data is there. So now for 5 ID, IT is updated and US is updated. See, in the update command, where is optional, but it is very, very dangerous. And why? Let me show you. Okay, so let's take this example. If I remove this where clause from the update condition, so I'm saying update employee, set salary equal to 85,000, and I'm running it. So I have run this, and let's see, select staff from. So you would see 85,000 has been updated for everyone. So this is why if you skip where clause, so it is very, very dangerous. So now let me drop the table again and then create it again, or maybe truncate the data first. And now the table structure is there, and now I can run this query. So table has been updated, and let's see. Okay, so now we got the perfect data. Select command, so we have already looking at it, select star from employee, so we are already running this query. So what it does, it view every column and row from employee table, But what if you just want to view a specific column? So let's say department or name. So we have this command. So earlier, like when we are running select star from employee, so it means show me every data. But now if I just want name and department, so I'll write select name, comma, department from employees and let's run this. So now I'll get two columns only. If I want maybe country as well, so I can write country, department, and let's run this query. So now I will get three columns. So whatever columns you need, you just mention and then run it. Next is distinct keyword. So it is a keyword used to remove duplicate values from the result set. And the example, for example, without distinct, duplicate values are there. With distinct, you will have unique values. And what is the syntax? So this is the syntax and example. So we will look at the example. So select distinct department from employee. So now I will get the unique department only. So we got unique department. If I, let's say, remove this distinct from here and run it again, so you can see marketing, HR, so we have a long list and operation is coming three times. If I'm using distinct and run it, so now it will give me just unique department only. If I want unique value for multiple columns, so how do I do that? So this is the second command, select distinct department and country. Now we will get the unique value based on both the combinations. So now we got the unique value basis this combination, country and department. If I, let's say, sort department, so you can see finance India, finance US. So value is not repeated, finance Canada, finance Germany. So now unique values are on both the column basis. Where clause, now let's understand what where does. So where basically filter the data with where clause. So what is the syntax? So we have already looked at this one, select star from table where conditions. So we can again run this query. Select star from employees, so which means give me all the column from employees where department equal to ID. So whenever we write text values, so we write it in single quote, single or double quotes. But whenever we write numeric values, so we write it without quotations. Okay, let's run this. So now we got all the employees for IT department. Let's run another query. Select name, department from employees where salary greater than 80,000. So equal to greater than, so these are operator. So I should get name, department for all the people who are earning more than 80,000. So let's run this. So name and departments, these are the people earning more than 80,000. And maybe I can take salary column as well. That will make sense. Select name, department, and salary. Let's run this. So you can see these are earning more than 80,000. Where clause with operators. So we were already looking at equal to and greater than operators. Equal to and greater than fall into comparison operators. And then there are arithmetic operators, there are logical operator, and then bitwise. So now we will look at certain examples. So first we will look at AND operator. In AND operator, both the condition must be true. So this is the question. Employees from IT department and salary more than 75,000. Okay, so what was the, let me paste this question as well. So question is employee from IT department and salary should be 75,000. So select star from employees where department equal to IT because it is saying department and salary should be more than 70,000. So we will use AND operator and then salary greater than 75,000. Let's run it. So you can see salary greater than 75,000 and department equal to IT. If I change the IT to, let's say, maybe HR, and salary, if I say less than 75,000, I don't want greater than now. So now you can see that salary is less than 75,000 and department is HR. So in this case, both the condition must be true, then only we will get the result. So second is the OR operator. In the OR operator, one of the conditions should be true. So let's take this example. Question is already there in the PPT and I'll share it with all of you. So let me select staff from employees. I need all the columns where department equal to HR or department equal to finance. Let's run it. So now we got HR or finance. So this is how the or condition works. So or is just the opposite of and. So third is like operator. So now with like, so we have a question employee names starting with A basically. Select star from employees where name. So we are saying we need the data for all the people whose name is starting with A. So this is a percent sign, percent or modular sign. So what it does, it looks at A and then ignore any other value after that. So that's how it works with the like operator. So these are wildcard operators. And so let's see next. So now the example of regular expressions. So REG, it is the short form of regular, EXP is the short form expressions. Regular expressions operators. So basically it matches a pattern. So let's take the example again. So earlier, what we were doing over here, so we were finding only employees whose name is starting with A. So what if I want to find the employees whose name start with AB or A, B, C or D? Okay. So can I apply this in the like? So maybe let's do that first. This and square bracket A, D, and that's it. And let's run this. So see, I applied the same thing with like, but it didn't give me any result. So now if I run this one, so what would happen? So now we got the people whose name is starting between A to D. So so this is the another wildcard character, so which are being used with the regular expressions. So you cannot use these with like. So because like has this advantage because if I want to find people, between that range, so like will not work. So that's why regular expressions come into the picture. And for regular expressions, so as I have shown it to you already, so these are the wildcard character you can apply with regular expressions. And let's look at more examples. So now next is not equal to operator. So I need the list of employees not working in IT department. So how do we find it? The question is, I need the list of employees who are not working in IT. So this is the not equal to. So you can see I got all the people except from IT department. And there is another way to write this one. So the another sign is not equal to, and let's run it again. See, and see currently I'm getting HR. What if I write HR over here? So I'll get now the list except HR. So you can see that. So you can either use this not equal to operator or you can use this one. It's up to you. Then we have between operator. So the question is employee with salary between 70 and 85,000. So let's run this query. Select name, salary from employees, where salary, so between is the operator and then end is again operator. So we are using between and then let's run it. So now we got the list of people who are earning between 80 to 5,000, 70 to 85,000. 70 and 85,000 is inclusive in it. So that's what I have written it over here. And then there is not in operator as well. Basically in operator, but within we can use not as well. So what it would do, so it is, so the question is employees not from India or USA. So let's run it. Select country from employees where country not in. So basically it should exclude all the employees who are from India and United States. So let's run this. So we have got UK, UAE, and what if I remove not and I just say in, then I should get a list. So which means India and US employees should be there only. So now we got India and US. If you have multiple condition, you can use in operator and then provide the condition in the bracket. And if you want it the other way, so simply use not operator over here and then it will do the opposite. Next is order by. We use order by to sort the data based on one or multiple column. Sorting can be done ascending or descending, and the default order of sorting is ascending. So this is the syntax and this is the example. So let's look at the example. Select name, salary from employees, and then order by salary DESC. So let's say if I remove DESC and sort it. So you would see that it is started with ascending 60, 65,000 like that. If I provide DESC, okay, DESC, then it will sort highest to lowest, 95,000, and then at the end it would be 60,000. So this is how you use the order by. Next is limit and offset. So in limit, how many rows do we want to return? So first let's look at the limit. So this is the syntax: select star from table name, limit, then number. So this is what we are using. So select star from employees, limit 3. Okay, let me remove this. And okay, so we got 3 rows. Let's look at another example. So earlier we got all the columns. So now we are saying we just need department and salary from employees, limit 3. If I run it again, so now we got department and salary only. We can either provide column if we want all the columns. So again, we can use a star. Next is offset, and in offset we are saying how many rows to skip first. So let me show you this example and then you would understand it better. Select salary from employees, order by salary DESC, limit 1, offset. Maybe let's say I should say 4. So I just want to skip 4 rows. So basically I want 5th row. So let me run it first. So I got 90,000 salary. Okay, so let me run this again and without offset, and let me get 6 rows. So now we got 6 rows. So in this one, what offset is doing? So offset is skipping this one, this one, this one, this one, and it got 90,000. So it is skipping first 4 rows and then picking up 5th. So this is what it was doing. So if I run it again, so 90,000. Next is functions. In functions we have two categories. One is single row, another is multi-row. In single row, so these are the functions which are covered. In multi-row we have aggregate and window functions only. And for now we are just going to cover aggregate functions. So next is aggregate functions. In aggregate functions, we perform the calculations, and we will look at 5 functions. So function number 1 is count, and in count you would see star, count 1, count text, and then count column. So what is the difference between each? So let's look at it. So this is the example. Select count as total employees from employee. So it is alias. Let's say if I don't use the alias, so what would happen? So it gave me 34, and then if you see count over here, it's count star. So I will use alias, and to use alias we use as and then a column name. Maybe I can say total count, and then let's run it. So now we got total count. So this is how to provide the alias name, and it is readable. Otherwise, if you just leave count, so it is not readable. And then we looked at in the syntax. So we had, count star, then 1x. So let's look at all the example. If I provide 1, so what would happen? Let's see. Again, it gave 34. Let's say if I provide 9, what would happen? Again, it gave 34. So you can provide any number, it would work in the same way. And if I use text value, so which was x, and what would happen? Again, it gave me 34. Can I use anything instead of x? Let's look at it. Maybe I will use d, and let's run it. So again it gave me 34. So this is the same thing, people use it differently, and sometimes question is being asked and then you would think maybe it works differently. No. So count star, count number, count text works equally, so it gives the same value. So there was another, so which was count column name. So if I, instead of star I provide, maybe let's say country. So now it gave me 32. See, earlier I was getting 34, 34, but when I provided country, it gave me 32. So what happens generally? So when we are using count with column, So which means whatever null values will be there, it will ignore the null values. It will count whatever values are given in that column. And all these other methods, so because they count the rows, they don't count the values in the column, these methods. So it was saying that we have 34, 34. If I run it again, so we have 34 because it is counting the rows, and this one count the values within that column. So that's the only difference you need to remember. So we looked at count. So next one is max. Select max because we are trying to find the maximum salary, and then alias highest salary from employees. Let's run it. So the highest salary is 95,000. And the opposite of max is minimum. If I want to find the minimum salary, then I can use the min aggregate function, and then we are saying lowest salary from employees. So it will give us the lowest salary. Now we have another function, so which is sum. So sum basically returns the total salary. So let's run it again. So the total salary for the company is this. And then now we are using average. So it will give the mean or the average salary for all the employees. So this is the average salary in the company. So these are the most frequent used aggregate functions. So this is why I covered these functions. But as we move forward, we will cover more functions. So next is group by clause. So what group by does is to group rows that have the same values in one or more column and then apply aggregate functions. So we have already looked at these functions. And what is the syntax of group by? So first you need to write select column name and then any aggregate functions from table name and then group by. Okay, so let's run it. So we have three examples. So let's run each example. So I'm saying select department and then count as total employees from employees and then group by department. So now I need the total count for each department. We got the data, and then you can see in IT we have 7 employees, in HR we have 5 employees. So this is how if someone asking you to pivot the data, to summarize the data, so you use aggregate functions with group by. So this was count. What if I want the average salary by department? Again, I want because average salary by department, so I can run it. So instead of count, I'm just using average, and we got the average salary by department. Next is sum. So in the sum, basically we are trying to find the total salary for each department. So we got the total salary by country. I just want to know by department, so I can then run it again. Okay, so I haven't used department over here, so I need to use department here as well. Let's run it. So now we know finance is the highest paying department, and in the country it was UK. So this is how we run the analysis. We pivot the data, we summarize the data using these aggregate functions with group by. Next is having clause. So most people get confused between where versus having. So you can see that where generally filters the rows and having is basically filtering the group. Use where before grouping, use having after grouping. So this is the syntax. Select column name first, then aggregate functions, and then table name, group by. After group by, we use having. Okay, let's look at this example first. Select department. So we selected the department, then average salary from employees, and then we need to group by department since we have taken this column over here, and then we are saying having average salary greater than 80,000. So these are the two departments which are earning more than 80,000. So now let's look at another example. Select department, count as employee count from employees where. So see, now we have used where country equal to India. So we are using where before group by, right? Within India, we are saying give us the department who have more than or equal to 2 employees. So there is just one department IT. So they have the 2 employee head count, like equal to or greater than 2 employee head count. So this is how you use where. You cannot use where after group by. If I just, it already gave the error. So this is not the right way to use. And that's why I have explained it in my PPT. And so this is the pro tip. You cannot use aggregate functions in where, but you can use them in heavy. Next is the logical order of the query and execution. See, this is the question so which is being asked in the interview as well. You should first understand what is the writing order. So this is the syntax. So you write first select, then column name, from table name, where with condition, group by, then column name, having condition, order by, limit and offset, and how it executes. So you should just remember it. This is how it works. If you understand this syntax, then it will be easy for you to apply where, group by, having. You will not get confused ever. So if you just remember these two syntax. So next is null value. Null means either missing or unknown value. It doesn't mean zero or empty string. And how do we work with null value? So there are four ways. So one is null. So is null basically check whether values are null or not, and then is not null to check not null values. If null, basically if there is a null, so we can replace it with a default value. Collect is basically returns the first non-null value from a list. So it works from left to right. So let's take the example. So first example, select name, country from employee where country is null. So let's run this query. So we got the list of employees where we have the null values in the country. So most beginners, what they do basically, they say where country equal to null. So they generally make this mistake, and then if you run this, it will not work. Because in interview specifically, people get afraid and they make mistakes, and then they see, okay, so there is no data, but it is incorrect. So you should always use is null or is not null. So we have used is null, we got two employees, and if I say is not null, so which means I should get the list for all the employees who have country. So you can see that I got all the list of employees, so there is no null values. If I go back to our example, so this was the second example, and let's look at, so we looked at is null, is not null. Next is if null. So now we are saying select name, if null, country. If country is null, then give us the value as unknown. Earlier it was giving us null only. So if I show you, so first let me show you. So here you can see we have null values, and if I run this, so you can see that unknown is there instead of null. If I run it, then it will show null values, but if I run it, then it will replace the null to unknown values. So this was if null, and then there is, so what it does, so see I have taken country and then department and then give me the unknown value as location info. If I run this query, and let me show you. So in the Pankaj Tripathi, what was happening earlier in this query? So we got unknown, but now we got operations. So operation is not a country, operation is a department. So what it did, so first it identified the null values. So when it identified the null values in the next, because it looked okay, so department is there, then it will give us the next value. So department value will be there. If instead of department, let's say if I say salary, so now salary should come in here instead of operations. And let's see, yeah, see we got the salary. So this is how it works. And then if I remove like country and unknown, then again it works as if null works. See unknown. So that's the only difference between if null and calls. Next is DCL command. So in it we will grant the access, we will revoke the access. So first let's understand how do we create the user, how do we assign the permissions. So to create the user, the command is create user, username identified by password. So let's take this example. So I'm creating user Adam, okay, identified by password is also Adam. So this is giving me the error because the code is incorrect, and this code is also should be this one. Yeah, create user Adam and identify by Adam. So let's run this. So we have created the user, but how do we know that user has been created? So let's go back to the home. So now click on the plus icon and this box will open up, and then you need to give connection name, and connection name can be anything. So let's give test Adam, and in the root username we have already defined Adam, and then click on test connection. Then it will ask for the password. Password was Adam only, so I'll give the password as Adam. I'll click on OK. So it is saying that successfully made the SQL connection. I'll click OK. I'll click OK. So now we can see that test Adam is here. If I click over here, so now we come here in the Adam box. But if you see in the schemas, so there is nothing. So now let's go back to our connection and let's assign some permissions. So how do we assign the permissions? So this is the basically this is the syntax and this is the command so we are using. So I need to write grant, right? So this is the syntax, and then select. Basically I'm assigning the select permission on for example it is data x odyssey, so I'll change it to company dot employees to Adam. So this code is incorrect, and let's run this. Command has been assigned for the employees table. So let's go back to the Adam and then refresh it. So now you can see the company database is there and table is also there. So if I run the select command, select star from employees. Okay, so no database selected. So remember as we did, so first we need to write use company, like which database are we using, run it. So now if I run this command, it would work. So we got this data. See, we assign the select command only. What if I insert the data? So let's say if I do this, and so you can see that insert command denied to user because we haven't assigned that permission to Adam. So let's go back to it and let's see next one. So let's assign the permissions first. So now we are assigning insert update permissions to Adam, and let's run this. So permissions has been assigned. If I run this now, okay, so it is giving me the error for employee name, and okay, okay, so it is saying duplicate entries because you remember we applied primary key over there. So I need to say maybe 100 and 100.01 and 100.02. It should now work. Yep, it worked perfectly. If I run this now, so you would see 100 as well, 100, 101 and 102. Now go back to the PPT. So we looked at how to create a user, how to assign the select permissions, or how to assign the select insert update permission. If we want to assign all permissions, so we can use all. And how do we verify the permissions? So first is this one, show grants for Adam, and let's run this. Okay, so I think this there is issue with this code Adam and with this one as well. So let's run this. So you can see we have assigned select insert update permissions on company, and so there is this another command select star from my table. So I just want to see the privileges to other people as well, so we can see, you know, to this person. So I have assigned select table, and then to Adam we just assigned select insert update. So this is how we check the permissions. And sometimes what happens, the permissions are not flushed immediately, so you can use this keyword flush privileges. So it generally like in a second assigns the permissions. So now we assign the permissions, then how do we revoke the permissions? Okay, so it is not grant, it is revoke, to remove previously granted privileges. So this is the syntax to remove the permissions, and let's do this. Or maybe we can do this one. Revoke, maybe I just don't want to remove select, I want to remove insert and update, and let's run this. Okay, now go back, and if I want to insert the data, so see command denied, and if I run to select permissions, so select would work. Okay, and again you can check the permissions. Next we would cover joins, window functions, normalizations, and more advanced concept. I have this website. If you go to material and download section, you will find all the material over here.